Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Man, week 5. You know, we knew it was going to be the best weekend of college football so far just because of the matchups alone. Little did we know it would be the wildest week of college football so far. 9 top 25 teams lost, guys. 9 top 25 teams went down. And if you don't want to focus on that, what you should focus on is that really ultimately week 5 was simply separation week for Alabama and Georgia. The number 1 and number 2 team in the country separating themselves from the rest of the pack and doing so in a big way. So again, guys, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, ready to break down everything that just happened in week 5 of college football. One of the wildest weekends we have seen in a long, long time, and one of the wildest seasons we have ever seen in a long, long time. As always, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below. Go sign up for those expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Picks for both college and NFL coming out every single Wednesday. If you haven't signed up for that, you need to do it. It's one of the best decisions you'll make all year long. So again, the link for that down in the description below. So we talk about week 5, guys, and we'll touch a little bit. We don't have our whiteboard up here today. We weren't able to do that. We'll have it up here in the next few days, but our predictions or how we did against the spread, how we did on the money line, all that stuff will be across the bottom here. So we'll kind of have that scrolling across here in a second. But week 5, guys, really was a separation week for Alabama and Georgia. And we'll talk each about those games here in a second. But first, we will take a look at our numbers. This week, 29-10 on the money line. And look, I mean, 10 losses is never ideal, but in the week that we had, some of the upsets that we saw, not too bad, 74.4%. But we did, in the midst of all that, hit our 200th win just 5 weeks into the season. 201-47 on the year, 81% through 5 weeks. Can't beat that. Goal's already 77%. We're going to hit that, probably do better than that in 2021. Against the spread, not our best week in the world. 4-6. Had a couple of guys that blew the leads late. Backdoor covers always come back to get you. Very unfortunate, but 4-6, first losing record or first losing week of the year. So we've gone 4 full weeks, no losing weeks. That was our first one. Don't bank on that happening very often going forward. 26-27 on the year, 49.1%. But as always, we can guarantee that by the season's end, we will have a winning record. We will be above 50, at least 54%. All of which will be some of the best marks in the entire country, just like they've been for the last 3 years. So nothing to worry about on our front. Again, still some of the best in the country as it is, ahead of ESPN, CBS, NBC, and a handful in Vegas. So we take a look at some key headlines right now, guys. That's kind of a few storylines that we're not going to spend too much time on, but moments that you need to be aware of. How about Virginia on Thursday night, taking down Miami 30-28? Yes, the Hurricanes did not have De'Aaron King, but do you remember when we said that everybody thought that Miami might be able to win 9-10 games, contend for the Coastal? Well, that would have been handed their 3rd loss of the year. Miami has 3 losses now. They just lost to Virginia, 30-28. The Hurricanes missed a field goal, doinked it off the upright as time expired. Again, you just can't help but feel for Manny Diaz and Miami right now. Might very well could be Manny Diaz's last year with the Hurricanes, especially with a home loss to Virginia. Yes, no De'Aaron King, still unacceptable. How about number 5, Iowa on Friday night, taking down Maryland 51-14. Why is that a big deal? Because everybody thought, not us, but everybody thought that Maryland would upset Iowa. The spread was only about 3 points in favor of the Hawkeyes. Everybody thought that the Terrapins could give the Hawkeyes a run for their money. Iowa strolled in there for 7 turnovers, including 5 interceptions off of Talia Tagovailoa. 7 turnovers and won 51-14. This Iowa team is for real, and they're scary, scary good. 51-14 on Friday night. Silenced a lot of doubters after that big win over the Terrapins. Florida State, they got their first win. Defeated Syracuse 33-30 on a game-winning field goal as time expired. They're not 0-5, they're 1-4. So congrats to Florida State for that. The odds of going bowling not in their favor, but they're finally in the win column. That's huge for Mike Norvell and the Seminoles. So 1-4 on the year. Big win over Syracuse there. Mississippi State upsetting number 15 Texas A&M 26-22. In College Station, we should add, Will Rogers, the quarterback for the Bulldogs, 408 yards and 3 touchdowns. Texas A&M, a team that many thought would be Alabama's biggest threat in the SEC West, might not even be the 3rd, 4th, or 5th best team in that division. They've already lost to Arkansas. They've already lost to Mississippi State. We can promise you they will lose to Alabama. Even though they get the primetime CBS night game, that doesn't make any sense to me because it's going to be a bloodbath. especially with Haynes King, of course, remaining out. They have yet to play Ole Miss. They have yet to play LSU. They have yet to play Auburn. The SEC West is an absolute gauntlet, and A&M, a team that many thought could even win that division this year, might not even finish in the top half of that division. That's really, really crazy to think about, and just a testament to how wild this year has already been. And then finally, how about the game of the century? Vanderbilt taking down UConn 30-28. A one-win Vandy team, a winless UConn team, showing up in Nashville where you could buy a ticket for $1. Probably could have snuck into the stadium and no one would have cared because they would have just loved to have had people in Nashville just to watch the game. Vanderbilt wins on a field goal as time expired, 30-28, 962 yards of offense between the Huskies and the Commodores. Not too bad for a game that was on no one's radar, but everybody, in a way, was on everybody's radar because of how bad it was going to be. 30-28, though, ended up being a pretty solid game. All right, we get into the big games now. We'll go through these relatively quickly. We'll start with the first one. Number 2, Georgia manhandling number 8, Arkansas, 37-0. That's where College Game Day was. Top 10 matchup in the SEC. And Georgia showed up, rose to the occasion, and again, continue to prove why they are maybe the number 1 team in the country. Alabama will hold that spot until proven otherwise, but Georgia is right behind them. The gap is so thin between Alabama and Georgia right now. And this defense for Georgia is absolutely ridiculous. Maybe one of the best defenses we've ever seen in college football history. They held Arkansas to 162 total yards on the day. 162 total yards. Shut them out. The second week in a row they shut out a team. Both of those coming in SEC play. It was 21-0 at the end of the first quarter. And Georgia, let's keep that in mind, was playing this game without JT Daniels. Stetson Bennett got the start in this game. Only threw for like 73 yards. He didn't have to because Georgia rushed for 273. This Bulldogs offense is balanced. The Bulldogs offense has not really been at full strength or full health all year long. Imagine what they can do when they are. The defense is absolutely unreal. And Georgia and Alabama seem to be on a collision course, not just for the SEC title, but I would even say the national title at this point. This is the number 1 and 2 teams in the country. They're the top 2 teams in the country, and they showed that on Saturday. As for Arkansas, they're not a bad team. They're not overrated. Say what you want. Find me a team that would do better, other than the likes of maybe Alabama. Find me a team that would do better than the Razorbacks in this situation. Arkansas is still a solid team. They're still a very balanced team. They're still a very good defensive team. But at the end of the day, you're going to have a very hard time moving the ball against this Georgia defense. Anybody would have a hard time moving the ball against this Georgia defense. The Razorbacks will have a chance to redeem themselves and continue to show they are a top 15, top 20 team when they travel to Ole Miss this next Saturday, and then, of course, get into the rest of their SEC play after that. How about number 14, Michigan, beating Wisconsin 38-17? Is Michigan actually for real this time? Is Jim Harbaugh's squad actually for real? They went on the road, Camp Randall Stadium, Wisconsin, beat them by 21 points. Were able to rush for 112 yards against this Wisconsin defense. 112 yards against Wisconsin, passed for 253 yards on Wisconsin, forced 3 turnovers on the Badgers, and held the Badgers just 43 rushing yards. Remember last year, Wisconsin torched Michigan on the ground. The Wolverines did not let that happen this year. Did not let it happen on the road and won by 21. Cade McNamara was solid at quarterback. Everybody wondered, could Michigan win this game? Because we knew they wanted to run the ball. That's been their strength, their identity. Would Cade McNamara have what it takes to win on the road? And he did. Michigan is 5-0. They were a top 10 team. And they're looking scary good in the wide open Big Ten East. Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State. A lot of big-time competitors in that division right now. It's going to be really interesting to see who comes out of it by season's end. But a huge win for the Wolverines, who, to me, made a statement, even though Wisconsin wasn't ranked, maybe wasn't getting as much hype, but they were still Wisconsin that was favored. And that shows something. How about a team that is for real? How about a team that is a playoff contender? How about number 7 Cincinnati taking down number 9 Notre Dame in South Bend 24-13? A lot of people thought we were crazy. We took Cincinnati. We said we like Cincinnati. A tough game to pick, but we're going to go with the Bearcats. And people laughed. They said we were dumb. And we picked Cincinnati to win this game back in June and July. So it wasn't just a recent thing. We've had this going on for a while now. And they thought we were crazy, and they laughed at us, called us mad. Cincinnati was up 17-0 at halftime. Desmond Ridder said before the game that they were going to walk into South Bend and they were going to silence that crowd, and they did. 17-0 at halftime. Desmond Ridder, 297 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. The Cincinnati defense, which is one of the best in the country, forced 3 Notre Dame turnovers, were able to capitalize off of that turnovers. They did not allow their first points of the game until a minute 19 left in the third quarter. A minute 19 left in the third quarter. That was when Notre Dame finally got some points on the board. Cincinnati wins 24-13. They have defeated Indiana on the road. They have defeated Notre Dame on the road. Obviously, the Fighting Irish, the more impressive of the two. A top 10 opponent on the road. If they can run the course in the American Athletic Conference the remainder of the season, they will and should make the college football playoff. The dream is alive for Cincinnati. The dream is alive for Cincinnati. The dream is alive for the group of five. An unreal performance from Luke Fickell and his squad. If you didn't think they were legit before, there's no reason you can't think they are now, because they are. Not many teams can go into South Bend and do what Cincinnati just did. Not just beating Notre Dame, but taking care of Notre Dame. 24-13, double-digit victory. The Cincinnati team is the real deal. What a win for them. What a win for the Bearcats. Sticking over in the SEC, let's go back. Number 1, Alabama, like Georgia, made a statement on Saturday, defeating number 12 Ole Miss 42-21. So the two biggest SEC games of the day were Georgia, Arkansas, Alabama, Ole Miss. The top two teams in the country facing off against two up-and-comers in Arkansas and Ole Miss. And a lot of people said, okay, Georgia's going to take care of Arkansas, don't worry about that game. But a lot of people said that Ole Miss might be able to upset the Crimson Tide. Last year it was a 63-48 type game. Ole Miss's offense is so tough to stop. It's Lane Kiffin versus Nick Saban. Ole Miss could hang with Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Nick Saban laughed at that, and Lane Kiffin made a major mistake by saying, get your popcorn ready. Only people munching on popcorn and enjoying that game are Crimson Tide fans, guys. Alabama led 35-0 in the third quarter. 35-0. So yeah, they won 42-21. That score makes it look closer than the game really was, because Alabama dominated from start to finish. 21 points, not bad. It easily could have been worse. Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin came in with a great game plan. They knew they would have to play a perfect, gutsy game to win against Alabama in Tuscaloosa. They chose to go for fourth down conversions quite a bit, going for it on fourth down. And the game, I really think, turned early when it was 4th and 1 from the Alabama 6-yard line, and the Crimson Tide got that stop. Ole Miss scores there. They strike first at 7-0 early. We might be in for a ball game. But Alabama got that stop, went down there, scored a touchdown. Ole Miss went for it a couple more times on fourth down. Were unable to get it. Went 2 for 5 on the day on fourth down. Alabama, every time that happened, took it and capitalized off of it. Ole Miss dug themselves in a hole they were unable to dig themselves out of, and were held to 291 yards of offense on the day. Alabama's defense flexed their muscles a little bit against one of the best offenses in the country. Georgia doing the same thing, flexing their muscle a little bit. Not saying Arkansas is the best offense in the country, but a good Arkansas team that was 8th nationally. Alabama and Georgia won these games convincingly, without a shadow of a doubt. They dominated, and they are the 1 and 2 team in the country, and they will be until proven otherwise, and there's not a single team in the country that can come close to them. Separation Saturday for Alabama and Georgia, because they took care of two good teams in Arkansas and Ole Miss, and did so in a dominating fashion. And Arkansas and Ole Miss playing this upcoming Saturday. Which one will have a bigger hangover in Oxford on Saturday morning? Couple games left. Stanford upsets number 3 Oregon 31-24 in overtime. The Cardinals get one last play on an untimed down. They called pass interference in the end zone on the final play of the game. So Stanford gets a 2-yard passing touchdown with no time left. Untimed down, gets it, forces overtime against the number 3 team in the country, strikes first, and then gets a stop against the Ducks in overtime to win. Tanner McKee, 230 yards, 3 touchdowns on the day, a flawless performance from the Stanford quarterback. Oregon had 228 rushing yards on the day, and that still was not enough. The Stanford defense held strong. It was a back-and-forth game. They led 10-0 at one point, blew the lead, had to score on that untimed down. Whether you think it was controversial or not is up to you, but Stanford got this win, and the Cardinals now have defeated both Oregon and USC. They defeated both Oregon and USC. This Stanford team, guys, looking good. This Stanford team is looking really, really good. And, while they might not be playoff contenders by any means, they could challenge for the Pac-12 North, something that many people didn't think they could do because of Oregon being in that division. The Ducks, no longer the number 3 team in the country. Their playoff hopes are not done. They, of course, will have to win out if they want to do that. But, of course, they have a tough game at UCLA. They have a tough game at Washington coming up. One more loss for Oregon. Their playoff hopes are done, and the Pac-12 playoff hopes are done. Everything rides on the Ducks, and this was not a good look and a good loss for them. Only a few games left. Kentucky, how about that? Upsetting number 10 Florida. The number 8 team and the number 19 and now the number 10 team in the country all lost on Saturday. Kentucky beating Florida at home for the first time since 1986. For just the fourth time in 70 years, Kentucky is 5-0. Mark Stoops, unbelievable job in Lexington. This game was a defensive slugfest. Everybody liked Florida in this game. Kentucky silenced the doubters. Kentucky, despite getting outgained 382 to 224 in terms of yardage, was able to win this game because the turning point was that 76-yard blocked field goal that was returned for a touchdown. Kentucky's defense rose to the occasion. They stepped up. They took down a Florida team that just a few weeks ago only lost by 2 to Alabama. They've now fallen to Kentucky. Florida has 2 conference losses, which means that the SEC East is no longer a race between Georgia and Florida. It is a race between Georgia and Kentucky. And while we all believe Georgia will win that race, while we all believe Georgia is one of the best teams, if not the best team in the country, give Kentucky some hope, right? Kentucky is the second best team in the SEC East right now. And no one, I don't think, thought they were going to be saying that going into the bulk of October. 2 more games left. Number 19, Oklahoma State beat Baylor, number 21 in the country, 24-14. A back-and-forth game, Oklahoma State leading 14-0, but in the fourth quarter, that lead vanishing, going to just 17-14 with 12:04 left. But the key in this game, like we mentioned in our prediction video, was Oklahoma State stopping the Baylor run game. Baylor wanted to run the ball. That's what they do. That's their strength. Could Oklahoma State stop it? If they could, they would win. If they couldn't, they would lose. We had faith in the Cowboys' defense, which is one of the best in the Big 12 in terms of stopping the run. They held Baylor to just 107 rushing yards. The defense came through clutch, and they came through clutch because Spencer Sanders threw 3 interceptions. But Oklahoma State, unlike Baylor, had success on the ground, 219 rushing yards, and I believe that the Cowboys now are the number 2 team in the Big 12, only behind Oklahoma. And then finally, guys, our last game. How about number 22 Auburn surviving in Death Valley? Kind of, history being made in the SEC. Kentucky winning in Lexington over Florida for the first time since 1986. Auburn winning in Death Valley over LSU for the first time since 1999. And this felt like a game that LSU should have won because LSU controlled this game from start to finish. LSU never trailed until 3:11 left in the fourth quarter. But Auburn took that lead 24-19. Max Johnson threw an interception late in the game, on the ensuing drive, I guess I should say, and Auburn escaped. 1 week after narrowly escaping Georgia State, Auburn strolled into a night game in Death Valley and took down the LSU Tigers. A huge win for Brian Harsin, a bad loss for Ed Ogeron and LSU, a guy who was already on the hot seat as it was. This does not help his case, blowing a lead to I still think, a mediocre Auburn team. Bad look for LSU, huge win for Auburn, and if anything, that continues to show you just how ridiculous and how crazy this college football season has been. So guys, there you have it. That's just a handful of the big games that happened. There were so many different other games, so many other upsets. Arizona State taking down number 20 UCLA, number 25 Clemson barely scraping by Boston College, number 6 Oklahoma barely scraping by Kansas State. Again, it's just one of those years, guys, that you just don't know what to expect. It's so full of uncertainty. It's so unpredictable, but that is what you love if you are a college football fan. We are experiencing and witnessing chaos. We are witnessing history week in and week out. And guys, week 6, with so many huge marquee matchups, is not only going to answer a few more questions, but it's going to even provide more chaos than we've already experienced. And if that's what you like, then buckle up, because the fun is just beginning. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. Of course, check out everything down in the description below as well. Sign up for those expert picks if you have not already. Those picks come out every single Wednesday for both college and NFL, some of the best picks in the entire country, and I guarantee you they will be too by season's end. So if you haven't done that yet, sign up, because it will be one of the best decisions you make. Help us, help you. Link down in the description. Check it out. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.